So this is #1 interview of Beyond the Politician Project, Youth Political Association. All right, so who are you? Just tell us who you are, what your position is, and what does it entail? What do you do?
I'm Steve Dunn. I'm the first selectman of Brookfield. My job is to run the town.
Run the town. All right, sounds good. So, what pushed you to become the person you are today? So this can be an individual, this can be a value, this can be an upbringing, it can be whatever.
Oh, what pushed me to become the person I am today? That's an interesting question. I never even thought of that question. I was raised in a family of 9 children that grew to adulthood. My parents were extremely strict. When I wasn't allowed to get my driver's license until I was 17, which was the summer before my senior year in high school, which meant that you couldn't actually get your driver's license until the end of October of my senior year in high school. I was allowed out one night a week, had to be home by 11. If I wasn't home by 11, you were grounded for a month. Right? So, what pushed me to be what I am is, I don't know. I went to college, I got my MBA. I moved to Brookfield in 1983, got my MBA, and about a year and a half, 2 years after I moved to Brookfield to take over as a regional manager for the Northeast for a division of Avery International, the label people, I got my dream job offer on Wall Street.
What was it? What was the...
I was working for Citibank,
Okay.
right, as a manager for Citibank. So I commuted for almost 40 years to Wall Street. And the reason I did that was, we moved here in '83. My kids had started school here. We loved Brookfield. We thought this was a great town. And I did not want to move my kids out of Brookfield. So I decided to commute. So I did that for 35 years. And I ended up driving the last 20 years because I couldn't take the subway anymore. Just July, 7 a.m., Grand Central Station, #4 subway. You'd go down to the platform. It's easily 120 degrees on the platform. You get to work, you're sweat soaked. All you want to do is take a shower. So I decided to drive. I started driving into Manhattan. I really liked banking. I was good at it, and my wife and I had 4 kids. And my wife, I have to say, also affected my life greatly. We've been together 49 years. We started dating when I was a sophomore in college. And I would like to think she's been a very positive influence on my life. What pushed me, what pushes everybody? You want to succeed, you want to do well, you want to provide a good life for your kids, right? You want to have just a nice life, and I've had a really nice life.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. All right. So, with that said, what advice would you give to a student looking to follow in your footsteps? So that could be your position now, your positions you had in the past.
I would advise not commuting to Manhattan on Wall Street. I would advise, we were talking about this a little earlier, I majored in college as a philosophy major with a minor in economics. I think people should pursue the things that really interest them. The reason you're going to college, and the reason they call it a liberal arts degree, is so that you get exposed to a number of different things. I can't tell you how many physicians I've met who did nothing but bio and chem, and they worked really hard to become doctors. But some of them are very one-dimensional, right? Really have a hard time carrying on a conversation with anyone unless it's specifically about what disease do you have. And partly that's our system because it's so hard to become a doctor. I would very much recommend people go get a liberal arts degree. Go to the best college you can. Talk to a lot of people. Take a class you didn't like. I took a ballet class in college. Big mistake, right? I'm not made out for ballet. But try things, right? and spread your horizons. And hopefully you'll find things that you really like to do. I said to all of my kids, you got to go to college, but after college, you can do whatever you want that makes you happy, and I'll be happy with that. Right? And they all went to college. They all have done well. They all have great careers, and they're all happy, right? And so that's what I think is the most important thing. Do what makes you happy, what you're interested in. I mean, there's some things you're going to have to do. You go to college just like high school. There are certain required courses you're going to have to take, but stretch out. Take something you normally wouldn't. You may find something you love.
You never know. Open answer. Okay. So what do you love most about your position in this town currently?
I think about that one. You know what I love most is helping people. It's really hard sometimes to do that. Sometimes I make a joke that we don't really elect the first selectman. Do you guys know what a DH is in baseball? Designated hitter. In the National League, you can take your pitcher. Usually, you take the pitcher out and they put a better hitter in. They call that the designated hitter. Yeah. What we really do every 2 years is this quaint custom, and we hire an elected DP. You know what a DP is?
Dedicated pitcher.
Designated pinata.
Oh.
Everybody wants to know who to yell at, what their phone number is, what their home number is, and how do I reach them. But that's why we're here. We're here to help people and to help the town. And what really excites me is when we can help people, we can help fix problems, right? We can't fix every problem for everybody, but one of my goals here is, as first selectman, is to make this town as good a town as we can. This is a great town. It really is. Like, we're talking about building a community center. We could really use that, particularly for our students from the middle school through to high school. Because little kids, you got lacrosse, you got soccer, your parents make you go, blah, 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 blah. But there comes a time when maybe that's not what you want to do anymore. We should have a skate park. We should have places where young people can gather and do things, even if it's playing World of Warcraft together in a community center. Oh, I'm serious, right? We want places where you guys can gather and do things. I don't care what it is, as long as it's not illegal, right? And so that's what really motivates me, is to try to do things to help people and to help the town in general.
You're right. All right. So, at what point did you realize that you wanted to follow down this career path?
As first selectman or as a banker?
How about as both?
Well, I always wanted to be a banker. I don't know why. I just did. So I got my MBA, I got a job with Citibank. I then morphed into a job. I got hired by JP Morgan Chase. I rose to a group executive with them in their investor service, in their investment bank, in security services. I really liked it. I think I was good at it. And then I retired. I've always been someone who is kind of, I guess, a volunteer, right? I was an Odyssey to Mind coach for 7 years.
Nice.
5 state championships.
5 of those 7 years?
5 out of the 7.
Nice.
Yeah. That was great. That was a lot of fun. We did that in my garage. I was a coach in baseball, and I ran baseball leagues for 20 years. I was a Boy Scout leader. I was Scoutmaster for 22 years. I was Scoutmaster about 5 or 6 of those years. I've always volunteered for things. I was in the JCs a long time ago when they had JCs in Brookfield. My parents always taught us that you should give back, right? You're given a lot, right? Give back some. And I've always been a coach. I coach soccer, not very well. I coach lacrosse. I know nothing about lacrosse. Get the ball. But I coach because my kids wanted to play those sports, and I wanted to be involved with my kids. And when I was working in New York, I was leaving at 5:30 in the morning and getting home at 8 o'clock at night on a good night, and traveling around the world half the time. So I wasn't home a lot, but I was able to fit coaching in and scouting in because I had really good bosses that would let me leave early on a Thursday to get to my kid's game and coach it, right? They were really good about that. So I've always believed in giving back, and I think everyone should give back. Like you guys all have to do a senior project, right? Right.
So,
A lot of
right.
those are people, right? Do you still have to do a senior project?
Did Ben do it?
They might have. I know that. I think they put it on pause during like the COVID.
Oh, they
times.
did?
I
Okay.
I know my oldest brother definitely.
Okay.
definitely had to do
A
it.
lot of times, my kids did the senior project. A lot of kids did volunteer work, right? And wrote about that. That's a good thing. This town, if people don't believe this, we have like 20 different boards, all of them made up of volunteers, people who just put their hand up and say, I'd like to help. We couldn't run the town without the volunteers. We couldn't. And virtually all of them do a really good job. And we thank them for volunteering. So that's what does that answer your question? Or
It absolutely does. Oh yeah. So that kind of also leads into the next question. What does the word politics mean specifically to you?
Politics is something that people go through and scream and yell at each other, especially in the last 8 years. And it's gotten a bad name. And rightfully so. Both sides.
Right.
Both sides. You got people screaming on the left, you got people screaming on the right. Here's how I feel about politics. I didn't hire you to go to Washington as a senator or a congressman to scream at the guy across the aisle. I hired you to go talk to him and do the right thing and make America better. So stop screaming. You'll never hear me scream at anybody. That doesn't help. Now, I work with many diverse boards, many people of various persuasions and various opinions. Our job is to reach consensus, right? Should we build a community center? We're going to have a discussion about that, right? Should we put a cell tower? Big controversy right now on town property by the high school. The goal there, and should be, is to have everyone participate, get everyone's opinion, do what's best for the town. And with the cell tower, I'll give you a perfect example. There are two unattractive options. One is to put the cell tower on town land, as far away from the high school, 1,500 feet from the high school, as far away from the high school and properties, neighboring properties as possible, right? To do that means we have to put it in land the town bought to build a new school, believe it or not. A lot of people don't want to do that because it's near Gursky, it's near Williams Park, it feels like open space. I walk there, I take my dogs there, right? I don't want to see a big cell tower in the middle of the woods. Perfectly reasonable to think that. If we don't do that, the other option is, and we can't stop this, the tower company can rent a 30 by 60 foot plot of land from any homeowner, any property owner, and put that tower anywhere. Meaning it could go right next to the high school. If the property owner right north of the high school says, yeah, I'll lease you a 30 by 60 piece of property, they'll put up a 175 foot tower directly next to the high school. That is going to be a real problem for neighboring property values. Now, the guy who owns the property, he's probably, and rents to, he's not too upset. He's probably going to get $50,000 or $60,000 a year to lease that property. So he doesn't care about his property value because in 10 years, he'll probably have made up the entire cost of his property, even if it went to zero, which it wouldn't, somebody would. But his neighbors, their property values are going to go down. Do you want to live next to a cell tower? Answer truthfully. The answer is no. No one wants to live next to a cell tower, right? They're ugly, besides people's concerns about health. But here's the problem. Connecticut has a process. We have an entity called the Siting Council. The Siting Council controls the approval of cell site locations. If the tower builder and the carriers, meaning AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, can prove the need for the cell tower, in this case it's poor coverage in the northeast section of town, if they can prove that need, the Siting Council will approve the cell tower and the town cannot stop it legally. Our zoning does not apply, our health rules do not apply, nothing, no law the town has applies. They just need approval from the Siting Council. No zoning, remember, no zoning applies, no setbacks, no nothing. So we have two unattractive choices. Do we put it in the woods where it will be as far away as possible, but be in property that people consider open space? Or do we say no as a town, and then they can put it anywhere they want? Working through that is a process, and that's what my job is, to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to get their say. Now, we may take the cell tower. Now, if we decided to put it on town property, if the Board of Selectmen said move that forward, there would have to be a vote. Because anytime we do anything with town property, buy it, sell it, lease it, rent it, whatever, you have to have a vote. And that's good. Residents should get a say what happens to their property. I guess if that vote would vote no, most people vote no, they don't want it on town property in the woods behind the school. Okay, just understand the other option is it's probably gonna go on someone's private property, which you may like even less.
Right, it's like it's a conundrum here. It's
Yeah.
two
So-
equally terrible options.
So I see my job as making sure everybody knows what those options are and gets as much information about them so they can make an informed decision when they go to vote.
That's great. Oh yeah. Okay. So this one ties back to kind of the beginning here. Who are the people who have influenced you most as the first selectman?
As first selectman?
As first selectman, yes.
As first selectman, I'd have to go back to my dad. My dad was an incredibly good guy. He won, if you screwed up, you did something stupid, he said, Steve, you got a lot of class. All of it third. Things like that. He was a really good guy. And he was actually my stepfather.
Wow.
My dad died in a car accident when I was 2.
Oh man.
His wife died in childbirth. He lost his wife and a child. The same year my dad died. So he was actually my stepdad. And I ask this of adults, it's a little hard for younger people, but would you consider marrying someone with 6 kids under the age of 14?
Absolutely not.
He did. He fell in love with my mother,
Oh man.
and he married her in 1961.
How old was he?
He was 35 at the time, and he had 2 children.
Wow.
He had 2 boys from his first marriage, and he was just an awesome guy. You know what his name was?
What?
Robert E. Lee.
We're learning about that in
Yeah.
in AP US history right now.
Who was Robert E. Lee's horse? What was the name of Robert E. Lee's horse?
Friday.
Come on, everybody should know this. Traveler.
Traveler.
That's a good name for a horse if you think of it.
Fitting.
Yeah.
It's very fitting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So my father was a big influence on me, and so was my mother, because she was always, my mother was what I would describe as a volunteer, always doing something, always helping out, even with 9 kids. She was always involved in the schools, PTA, this, that, the other thing. My mother was also what I would call, you ever heard the expression yellow dog Democrat?
No.
No. Yellow dog Democratism. I don't care if they run a yellow dog for mayor, as long as they're a Democrat. I'm voting for him. So my parents would vote every single year. They never missed. And my father would come in on a Tuesday in November and sit down at the dinner table and go, canceled your mom out. He was a Republican.
Oh.
You know what percentage of marriages have 2 people, one who is a Democrat and one who's a Republican in the
What
United
percentage?
States today? What percentage?
Very low.
Probably like
70.
crazy low. I don't know.
It's like 10 or less percent.
What percent?
10 or less percent.
Very good, 8%.
Holy cow! Wow. You were off.
I thought it was. I
by
would
like
thought.
62.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I thought it would be much higher, but it's not.
Yeah, you would think that.
Yeah, but my parents got along just fine,
Yeah.
right? But honestly, on the basics, they agreed. On the core values, they agreed. And it used to be in the 60s and even the 70s that the Democrats and the Republicans in the United States both agreed on what needed to be done. We got to fix the highways. We need better hospitals. We need better medical care, whatever it was. What they disagreed on was how to get there. The Democrats typically were, let's have government build hospitals. The Republicans were, no, let's let the private industry do it, right? And there are times when it should be private and there's times when it should be public, but they agreed on the end goal, right? Today, I don't know that that's true. I don't know what they agree on. And I don't know, it's dysfunctional right now. Did that answer your question?
It absolutely did. All right. So this is one of, I think, the last question I have for you. So to wrap this up, what has been the biggest struggle in your career, and how have you gotten past it?
Biggest struggle in my career? There's been so many. I think I'll just talk about the biggest struggle in this job, because I don't think you'd be interested in some of the things that went on in my previous job. The biggest struggle in this job is, I think, I've been doing this job on and off for 7 years, almost going on 8 years, is the lack of civility, the change in the civility of people, even in the last 8 years. It is okay to disagree with somebody. It's okay to really disagree with somebody. It's not okay not to be civil. It's not. And what we've seen, and I think you've seen it, the lack of civility, people calling each other names, people saying just horrible things about other people that has nothing to do with the issues at hand, right? Instead of discussing the issues, we're discussing people's personal characteristics. And the level of discourse has gone down a lot. And that is the biggest struggle, because I'll be honest with you, I won't put up with somebody who's not civil. I won't do it. Be civil. You can disagree with me all you want, right? That's your right, and I want you to do that. But at least you can be civil. You don't, and I see it on boards. I see it in interactions. You can really see it, like on Facebook, and some of these sites that are the Facebook sites that people on the town get on, and you'll see people screaming and yelling, and just you can see they're typing as hard as they can. Not helpful. Not helpful. Let's continue to be civil. Let's continue to work together. We can disagree. You know, when I first took office, the Board of Finance wasn't talking to the Board of Ed at all. Not even talking to them, right? How do you formulate budgets? 2/3 of our budget is the schools. How do you formulate that budget at the Board of Finance without talking to the people who created it, the Board of Education? You're not going to come up with good decisions if you're not talking. You're not. And we have gotten to a point where the boards are civil with each other. I have a very good relationship with the Board of Finance and with the Board of Ed. The superintendent of schools and I meet regularly once a week just to discuss issues. Hey, you got a problem. No, we need a piece of this equipment. Oh, this broke. How can we help you? That's how you move government forward, is working together and be civil. And the most difficult thing is people not being civil.
Right. It's communication.
Communication in a polite way, right?
Oh yeah.
I've had people tell me, you know, you're as full of, you know what, it's a spring goose. If you do it in the right way, I can say, I disagree with you. I don't need to call you a name to disagree with you, right? I don't need to cast aspersions upon your character because you disagree with me. It's okay to disagree with each other, right?
Oh yeah. It's just communication,
Right.
and being civil,
Yeah.
and understanding, I think.
Right. Yeah, and we get quite a bit of people not understanding,
Oh, yeah.
right? I had a gentleman, you know, we've been talking about this cell tower
Mhm.
since, it's been the subject of every Board of Selectmen meeting since January,
Wow.
right?
Almost a year.
Almost a year. And about a month ago, a gentleman got me at ShopRite, and he says, "You're trying to sneak a cell tower past the residents, and I think it's wrong. You should tell people about this." Well, you know, it's really kind of aggressive way to start. I said, "Sir, we've been talking about this at the Board of Selectmen meetings for the last 9 months, at every Board of Selectmen meeting, right? And all you have to do is go on the town website, you'll see information about it, right? We're not trying to hide anything from everybody." But I did say to him, you know, I apologize, but I can't personally call every resident in town and tell them what's going on in town. It's a two-way street. you have to pay a little bit of attention, and we'll put the information out there, right?
Right, of course, yeah. All right. Well, thank you for letting us interview you. It's been great.
You're welcome.
It's good to, get to know, a politician or somebody in this sort of position beyond just their policies and beyond,
Yeah.
I like this guy doesn't like that. It's good to just actually know who this person is.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Of
And,
course.
I'm really heartened by guys like you taking the initiative to do these sorts of things. Because, let's face it, you are going to be the leaders of America within the next 10 to 15 years, right? You're all hopefully going to have positions and jobs that can affect a lot of people's lives, even if it's in a small way, right? And paying attention now really says a lot for you guys, right?
Oh, 100%.
It really does. And I thank you for doing it.
Of course, it's a pleasure doing
Yeah,
this.
and also we want your, I was serious at the assemblies, we want your feedback about the community center. This is our opportunity to make sure it meets the needs of everyone, including you guys. And you guys, I think, have the highest need, right?
Oh, 100%.
Anything else I can do for you?
Anybody else got any questions or comments going on? No?
No?
All right. Well, this concludes our interview.
And what are you going to do with this thing?
This is
Slice it up.
You put those little cat ears on my head and put it on TikTok.